Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Creativity Corner. I'm Catherine, and today I have a really special guest with me. Not only is she part of our core team, but I actually consider her a dear friend. This is Joanna Fix. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you, my friend Catherine.
Thank you for joining us today. So, Joanna, would you mind telling us a little bit about your story and your journey living with dementia?
Sure. Well, like when I got diagnosed or when I started having problems going that far back.
Sure. Just tell us a little bit of what you're living with and how you're doing.
Well, I'm doing pretty good, I think. Been living with Alzheimer's disease probably longer than how long I've been diagnosed, which was 5 years ago. And I'm 53 now. So I was 48 when I was diagnosed. And I was about 5 years before that, I was asked to retire from my position at the university as a psychology professor. And so I don't know, fast forward to or slow forward, what you want to say. My life is pretty good. I have a husband and 2 dogs, and we live in Colorado Springs. And he is my full-time care partner. And we do pretty well together. I'm lucky to have him.
Yeah, he's lucky to have you. He's lucky to have you too. I'm lucky to have you as a friend myself. So, Joanna, I recently discovered your creative self, other than your creative wit. I know you have creative wit, but you do other things that are creative. So, would you mind sharing with us a little bit? And I know a little bit of the beads are interesting to me. So show us, would you mind sharing a little bit of what you've done with your beading? And has the beading started after diagnosis, or did you already do it?
No, the beading actually started before diagnosis, but when I started having problems. And one of the first suspicions was maybe I had MS. So they said, well, we really want you to start doing things with your hands. And I got into beading, and I was making necklaces and all kinds of, and I'm not really a jewelry person. So I really had to force myself to, I go, oh, okay, well, I know that so-and-so wears jewelry. I can make a necklace for her or whatever, but it just kind of wasn't my thing because there weren't really boundaries, when you're creative, anything goes. And I found myself gravitating or switching to making prayer beads. There's one of our hospice centers here was asking for volunteers to make crafts, and I got into making the prayer beads, and I've made probably 200 of them. I'm just showing you a few right now. I just with the little, plastic beads that children work with, not the fancy stuff I used to make jewelry with, but I like there's an order and there's counting, and there isn't room to, do a bunch of crazy stuff because prayer beads have an order.
And you like that order, that you respond well to that order.
Well, I always like to have some type of big picture boundary or the lines, and then I want to do whatever I can do within those boundaries. I don't want to be micromanaged. I've never been a good micromanage type person. So I noticed that as I started having trouble with the Alzheimer's, that I needed more structure than I used to. And I just really, I think I didn't want to mess it up. And I thought, well, how can you mess up a necklace? You're just making a necklace and it just has to have a fastener on the back. But I just needed more structure. And the prayer beads gave me that structure.
That's great. So you're really responding. You've shared with me that you really have latched onto that right side, that rhythmic part of your brain, especially in the way you express yourself, which leads me to, you recently just shared with me that you're actually a published author.
Well, yes. And if you don't count my dissertation that got published eons ago, I did actually write and publish my first children's book. I have always enjoyed poetry and rhyming, Dr. Seuss, and it came easy to me. Like, I think in rhymes.
Is that still the case? Do you still think in rhymes?
Not as much. But if I was, when we have our pack Zooms, I do think in rhymes. If I'm going to put something in the chat, or if I'm going to say something, I am sparked or spurned on, whatever that word is, by what the sound is from the word that the person just said. If that makes sense.
And it sure does. That's incredible that you're really harnessing in on that part of your brain. That's
I sang
alive and active.
I've been singing in choir for a lot of years, and that both of my choir directors retired this year. So I guess I'm finding different outlets, and it's not a long story if you'd like me to share it with you.
Sure.
I wrote it in 2005.
Okay, 2005.
It's called Robert the Robin. And I'll try to show you the pictures too. I didn't draw them. I hired an illustrator. It says above the grass and among the trees. Sorry, this is going to take a while if I have to turn the page. There lived a robin with bright red knees. It says, "My name is Robert, if you please." Then beyond the crest, beyond the nest, between the crest. Here's the picture. I can just read it to you. Robert's mom and dad did rest, but oh, they kept a watchful eye when Robert flew up in the sky, and made sure he was home by noon, and hushed him when he sang his tune. Why do you not want me to sing? I do not hurt a single thing. True, little Robert, but even so, we do not think it apropos. So Robert grew to be a man, and his red knees turned very tan. He did not think it was so weird until he grew a dark tan beard. His friend Joe Jackal helped him out. Just look at me. I'm tan throughout. It happens when you show your colors. Sorry.
Okay.
And they're not the same as others. But if you dream, if you believe, then you can possibly conceive that being true and being proud means always singing right out loud. Then Robert stepped out from the crowd. I don't like nuts. I don't like peas. I don't wish to be the big cheese. Then his song blew through the trees and gave him back his bright red knees. And I'll show you the picture sometime, but yeah, it's a true story.
Thank you for sharing that, Joanna. That really
and it's emotional.
It is to me too. Gosh, who knew? Welcome to the ODJ. A little bit of emotion here. Boy, that is something, Joanna. Sing right out loud. Sing proud. Be your true colors. Isn't that perfect for the convention coming up? conference.
That's right. We have all kinds of colors.
We have all kinds of colors, and all of us can change if we have brown knees or red knees or brown beards or pink hair. We are who we are. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So we've talked about your beating, needing those parameters. When you're still being creative, when you're painting, you do some painting as well, I believe.
I do. Here's one that I did.
Wow.
Forrest put it in a frame because he knew it would be messed up if it wasn't covered in some glass. But there's a, I don't know if you can see it very well. I
can see it, yeah.
There is a message, and the message is, this is your brain and this is your heart. And when you start out in the world, your brain is, it's sapphire. This is before I met you guys and I knew anything about the gems, by the way. I just painted my brain blue, or a brain blue. And your heart's kind of small, right? Because people aren't supposed to be emotional. They're supposed to be logical, and everything's supposed to be right and correct. And anyway, not supposed to think with your heart. Well, and then we start to grow up and we use a little bit more of our heart. You know, we're kids and we're becoming teenagers and young adults. Maybe we're getting married or finishing or going through school and having relationships. We're trying to balance that heart and brain connection. And then maybe things start getting a little foggy, a little harder to use your brain and make good decisions all the time. So you're relying on people to give you that grace. And you need to give that grace back. And finally, your heart just takes over. And it really doesn't matter if you can't do as much with your brain, because your heart is picking up the pace for you, doing the heavy lifting. Anyway, I had to have again, it's structure. It's,
yeah, there's a what I notice is there's actually logic in that. And it's, you've painted a somewhat linear picture, even though it's flexing in each state. Mm-hmm. That is beautiful, Joanna. So, you painted that after diagnosis, when you know you were living with, or before?
Oh yeah, I painted that this year. All my painting, well, I think I started last year when, in the middle of the pandemic. Was that last year?
Yeah, seems like forever.
And the Alzheimer's Association has this Memories in the Making program, and I started learning how to do some of that.
So I just want to echo what I think is really important here. We've seen this before. What's really important is that you have continued to discover new pieces of yourself, new ways of expressing yourself that are profound and meaningful. Even the fact that it's not just that you wrote that story, you just read that story. It's the beads that have meaning. It's the painting that is expressive and gives your perspective on your journey and what you notice in the world. And I think that's enough. I thank you for that, Joanna. Thank you. I have a strong feeling that this will profoundly mean something to someone who watches this. I thank you for your time, and thank you for giving your heart and sharing who you are with us.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you at the conference.
With pink hair.
With pink hair. We'll be looking for it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again.
Hey, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread Teeps's positive approach message around the world. And don't forget to click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted.